everybody. So happy to be back. Happy Monday. It is noon already. It came really fast today. I'm happy to be with you guys. I hope you had a great weekend. Oh, I miss you too. I had a good night's sleep and a morning that went by really quickly, but I'm happy to be back periscoping with you guys today. If it's your first time, this is Trina. I'm Trina Titus Lozano. Thanks for joining Cecily and Renee. Glad you guys caught up on the replay, and welcome to all my replay followers as well. Thanks for joining today. Thanks for joining the conversation. I'm Trina Titus Lozano. I'm a Christian counselor and a parent coach, and I'm on a series right now, the ABCs, the absolute basic criteria for raising really awesome kids, okay? We are raising the next generation, and it is not an easy task to do. I think you guys know that today is O. We're on the letter O, which stands for obedience. And today is the first day of school for a lot of y'all and for a lot of kids, at least in Texas. So I don't know where you guys are periscoping from right now, but I'm in Dallas, Texas, and my grandkids are starting school, and all the school districts around here are ready to get back to work. And you know, they will be learning all about rules today in their classroom, and their teachers are going to be teaching them about being obedient and following rules, and those classrooms are going to be very structured. Hi y'all, I'm glad you're looking forward to this. Those classrooms are going to be very structured, and as parents we really need to think of ourselves as teachers. Okay, we are teachers, and we are instructing our kids. We're training them, we're discipling them, we're modeling and we're mentoring them, and we're instructing them of how to, if anything that we teach, anything they are ever going to learn is because we've taught them, okay? So we need to teach them obedience at home, and that helps them to be obedient anywhere else. So this is a little bit tricky, it's a little bit different, but to obedience train your kids is very intentional. And it takes effort, it takes consistency, and it takes an understanding that it's the right thing to do, okay? It's not right to just not worry about it and to just let your kids do and be however they feel and whatever they feel like, whenever they feel like. They don't know what's in their own best interest. They don't know how to be obedient unless you teach them, unless you model them, unless you let them know what that looks like and what that means. So the why behind this, I'm an ordained Christian minister, and I always look to the Bible for an example and for instruction of what we're supposed to do with our children in parenting. So I'm going to take us to Ephesians 6:1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. This is right. Remember, we talked about C is for conscience, and that we want to do things not just out of our prohibitive conscience, but our assertive conscience. If you missed that, y'all, go back. You can check on my website the ABCs that you have missed, okay? So all the way up from A all the way to O, where we are today. Be sure you go back, TrinaTitusLozano.com, and listen to those other periscopes, because we're building on things. Well, the reason why we teach our kids to obey is because it is right. And it's the right thing for them to learn to obey us. It is in their own best interest, and they need to do that. So what does obedience mean? Yes, I'm live here from Dallas. I'm right here in my house in the playroom of my kids. I'm a Christian, and I'm coming to you today and every day at noon and 9 with advice on parenting right now, doing this series. So I'm in my home today and preparing for a trip that we're taking tomorrow. Here's my grandkids in the background. I've got 4 grown kids and 3 are married, and now we have 9 grandchildren. So we're very intentionally disciplining and training and discipling and nurturing and loving our children so that they can grow up to be self-disciplined people and awesome people, and so that they can be obedient. And when they're obedient, that affects everything, okay? They're obedient to us first, and they begin to learn to be obedient to the Lord, and then of course to their teachers, to their coaches, to all the authority in their life. They don't have a problem with obedience because they've learned it at home, and they've learned that because y'all have taught them. So I'm just cheering you on today. Keep teaching your kids in obedience. What is obedience? Obedience means to obey immediately, joyfully, and completely. Immediately, joyfully, and completely. Teach them this vocabulary word. Use this word. Say, you know what? It's time to obey. And we can say, hooray, I obeyed. That's what my grandkids always say, hooray, I obeyed. You want to always just be excited about every time they obey. Use that word. They throw something in the trash. Oh, hooray, you obeyed. Mommy said to throw that in the trash and you did. That's awesome. I want you to recognize every single time they obey. It could be the smallest thing, because no thing is small. It could be a really big deal, but when they immediately obey on the million tasks that you might tell them to do a day, just celebrate with them. Hooray, you obeyed. Good job. Mommy loves it when you do that, and that feels so good when you obey. So you want to celebrate that, okay? And I'm going to give you a few other tips as well. Okay, have a clear instruction. So you want to tell them what to do instead of just what not to do. Give them a clear instruction of what to do. In other words, sit, okay, or stand, or hold my hand would be much better than don't run. Or because then it's like, okay, don't run, but then what? Should I stand? Should I walk? Should I sit? You know, so instead of saying don't run, it's better to give a clear instruction to say sit, stop, hold my hand. You know, if they're hitting each other in the car, if they're badgering each other, instead of saying stop fighting, stop poking each other, it's more efficient and effective for you to say sit on your hands. Everybody's hands in your pockets. And if you've established your authority and they are obedient to what you say, immediately they will respond to your absolute instruction, okay? That's right. You can remember this. And then you teach them the word, and as soon as they do it, you say, you obeyed. Great job, guys. I see that everybody's hands are in their pockets. That's awesome. That is the right thing to do, and you guys did a great job obeying, okay? So that's right. The car can be the worst, but instead, we want to just make it a time where your kids are obedient. They have to be obedient to your instruction because you're driving, and you need for them to be obedient to your instruction. In fact, just last week, one of my clients called, and he said that they had terrible car trouble, and hopefully he's watching the show today, or at least a replay. So he told his family, our car is overheating. It could be very dangerous. As soon as I tell you, if I need to tell you to get out of the car, nobody talks back, nobody argues with me. It means it's an emergency, okay? And he just sort of did a little bit of a drill with them, and that was so important because he knew that if in a time of emergency, there's not time for talking back. There's not time for messing around. If I say, get out of the car and run to the grass, okay? I've given them 2 clear instructions. Get out of the car and run to the grass. I don't have time to explain to myself if the car's about to overheat and possibly explode. You know, so we're training them obedience, and ultimately it's just going to benefit everybody because we're going to know that they are more safe. It's the same thing that the teachers are going to be doing at school. They'll be talking about fire safety. They'll be talking about the fire drill. When it's time to line up. And they can say one thing and boom, everybody does it because they have been obedience trained and they have been trained to respect the authority of their teacher, okay? And they've been instructed of what to do in case of a fire, but not when there's a fire. So we can't talk about fire prevention in the middle of a fire. So they have to be trained in advance how to respond immediately and completely and joyfully, okay, to your instruction because your instructions are important. Now, moms and dads, I don't want you just being bossy, telling your kids every little thing and just wearing them out with constant instructions. I want your instructions to them to be deliberate, to be intentional, and to be meaningful so that you can follow through with the instructions that you have given, okay? Another tip, after you give clear instructions, you want to expect the same behavior at home as you do in public. Lots of times, if you guys would come over to my house, for instance, you'd be like, okay, kids, I need you to be really good because we're at Miss Trina's house, okay? You know what? If you haven't trained them to be really good at your house, then they're not going to be really good at my house. So what we're doing is you guys are role playing, you're modeling, and you're expecting the same behavior at home that you're expecting. That's right. Bossiness, it comes off with an attitude, and kids don't respond well to that. So stay calm, stay positive, stay upbeat, and you already have the authority. So there's no need to yell. There's no need to to have this bossy sort of attitude because, see, they need to understand your rules are the same as their rules. It's really the same. You need to put on your shoes when it's time to go, and they need to put on their shoes when it's time to go. And sometimes I like to role play, and I think it's a very good idea for you guys to role play. So sometimes they can be in charge, and you can say, okay, we're going to I'm going to let you be in charge, and let's practice. You practice telling me what to do. And so they can tell you what to do while you guys are playing this little game. And then moms and dads, you need to respond immediately and joyfully and completely to do what they've told you to do. And then that will role model, and then switch it. Then you practice with them. Practice little drills of putting on your shoes, of getting dressed, of getting to the dinner table, of getting your backpacks, of getting in the car. So if you're doing these little drills, it's sort of like a game. Then when it's time to actually happen, boom. They all have been obedience trained, and they've been shown, and you have practiced, and you have talked about it, and they're ready to jump to it and make it happen. And then if they don't, then there can be a consequence. We talked about D when we were talking about discipline and discipleship, okay? But today we're talking about O, and obedience train your children. It's intentional. Okay, keep a calm voice. Keep a calm voice. Be solid. Your no means no and your yes means yes. Okay, so be solid. Give them boundaries, but freedom within those boundaries so that they have plenty of room to explore, to be creative, to have fun. Don't micromanage, but let your yes be yes and your no be no, so that they can know that when it's time to be obedient, let's go. It's time. And they know, and even use the word, it's time to be obedient. What does that mean? And then they will know that that means joyfully, completely, and immediately. Okay? That's right. It's awesome. And that's right. As we teach them, it helps us to know how we are to be obedient to God at the same time. And hopefully your husband and wife are on the same page. If you talk about it in advance and you have these clear rules that obedience means immediately, completely, joyfully, everybody repeats that. Everybody knows that. And it's just an expectation. It's not cruel. It's not mean. It's not being a mean parent to expect these things out of your kids. In fact, it's lazy parenting if you don't train your kids to obey. They need to do that. The kids can't ask the other parent, oh, yes, exactly. That's what happens. Sometimes the kids will just play the parents against each other. You don't want that to happen as well. Okay, so back up what you say, and parents, you want to back up the other parent. So one of you acts as the main authority, and then the other acts as sort of like the assistant. Whenever one is given the instruction, the other one is a support, an assistant to that. It would be the same as the teachers at school today. You have one teacher giving the main instructions, and then the other teacher, the assistant teacher, will act as an assistant, and they will back up and support that instruction. They will never give conflicting instructions, because that's not constructive, okay? So the instructions have got to be consistent, but with the one authority, the other one acts as the assistant. That's the way that works in parenting and in co-parenting and in marriage, as well as in a classroom with a teacher and assistant teacher. So think of yourself. Sometimes you'll be the authority. Sometimes your husband or your wife will be the authority. But as soon as they give an instruction, immediately back them up as the assistant. Okay, so the kids know, I'm backing them up, and there's one authority right now, and they told you to get your hands washed. You don't look at me and say, do I really have to? No. You say, okay, you know what that means. Immediately, completely, and joyfully. And when the kids ask something, is it better to ask them, did you ask dad, or let me talk to dad? You know what? It's okay sometimes, but not all the time, because the kids need to just respect what you're telling them to do. And, no matter who it is, they just need to be obedient to their authority. That's the main thing. Okay. When you need to be firm, change your voice tone so that they know you're not playing a game and you're serious. I said, come now. Yeah. Sometimes I did count to 3. I don't think counting to 3 is a bad thing. This makes me think it's a lot easier to say, that's right, we obey daddy. Exactly. Thanks, Wendy. Let's see. Treat your child with kindness and respect always, okay? That's really important. When you're kind, see, there's never a power struggle because I already have the authority. I don't need to enter into a power struggle with my kids. I don't argue with them. There's no power struggle. They know that I'm the authority. So if there's time that I need to say that there's an authority, Nina said, sit down. Nina said, stop. Then they can know that I'm the authority. There's no power struggle. There's no raising my voice. It's with kindness. As soon as I give that instruction, then we just move on to whatever it is that we're doing, okay? Design and organize your child's environment, okay? I like the home atmosphere. It needs to be an atmosphere of, exactly, I'll talk about that, Brandon. Identity first. Your home atmosphere needs to be an atmosphere of organization, think of it like a classroom. Think of yourself as a teacher that you need to get up and get ready to go for the day first, so that when your kids come home, or when you're expecting them to do things, you're already well organized, you're well informed, and it eliminates the chaos in the home when you as a parent have created a well organized, structured atmosphere of love and peace in your home. Brandon reminded me to say, think of the identity first, and then action, and then the feelings follow. So you can teach your kids this. Their identity is, you're an obedient child. So I'm going to give you an instruction, and since you're an obedient child, I need you to obey right away, okay? And then give them the instruction, put on your shoes, and then have them repeat it to you. What are you supposed to do? Put on my shoes. That's right. When do you put on your shoes? Immediately, completely, and joyfully. They can repeat that to you. They can say, okay, mommy, or okay, daddy, or yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. They repeat it to you. You expect it to be done. You oversee it. If it's not done, then you're going to have to enforce a consequence, okay? So just be sure that they are learning because you're being consistent, okay? So their identity first, can constantly tell them their identity. You're an obedient child. You're an obedient child, so I know that's going to drive their action, that you will obey, and then the feeling follows, and you will feel so good about yourself, and mommy and daddy are going to be so proud of you. As a parent, do the same thing. Your identity first. As a parent, I'm a parent that is committed to teaching my kids. I'm a parent that is committed to teaching them to be obedient, and I'm committed to that. Okay, so that drives my action, and then the feeling will follow, because I've committed to it, because I know that this is who I am as a parent. I'm a parent that will train. I will do my part to train my kids to be obedient. I'll do my part, my identity first. Because lots of times if our feelings are first, we won't, because we won't feel like it. But if our identity is first, I'm going to be well organized, I'm going to be structured, and I'm going to teach my kids to obey. Then that will drive your follow through, and then eventually your feeling will follow that you're being a really great parent. Okay, so be a firm disciplinarian while simultaneously showing great love and affection for them. Okay, great love and affection. That's so important, that they know that they are loved, and that because you love them so much, you're teaching them to be obedient, and they can use that word, obedience. O is for obedience. I'm just going to pause for a couple of minutes here before I let you guys go this afternoon, and wait for a question. So if you have one more question, go ahead and type it in the comment bar, and I'm just going to pause until I can answer a few more questions, and then I'll move on with my closing. But thank you guys for joining me today. I'm Trina Titus Lozano, and you can check out the website for the past Periscopes that you have missed. What could a consequence be to something small like not putting on shoes when asked? Example, well, the consequence is I would pick them up and put them in the car immediately and quickly and say, come on, we're going. And just move on with your plans. And the shoes are right there. They'll be in the car. And if the kid starts whining, the next time the kid asks you for something, I want some gum. I want some candy. I would say, oh, well, you know what? We're not going to have that. Remember when mommy asked you to put your shoes on and you didn't obey, so I had to just put you in the car without your shoes? Yeah, you didn't obey then, so you're not going to get candy right now. So, sorry, when you obey mommy, it's awesome because things are going to go well for you and we're just going to have a great day. But if you don't obey mommy, then guess what? When it's time to have a treat, you don't get your treat. So, but I don't like to threaten. It does no good. Kids don't even understand and respond well to threats. But then when they ask for something, then you can remind them. Remember when I told you to put on your shoes and you didn't do it? Then I'll have to do that. When is it old enough to do that? I mean, I would say like 4 would be old enough to do that. Even 3, Anderson's age would be old enough to do that. Before that, like a 4 and under, you're going to have to put their own shoes on. You know, you're just going to have to get them rest, put their shoes on, and you can't give them such a big task. But that's going to be probably 4 and over, like Anderson's age and up. But you could give them other tasks, like to throw things in the garbage, and you start teaching them the word, like Araceli's age. Hooray, you obey. You threw that paper in the trash, you know, or you tell her to come to you. Hooray, you obeyed. You came when mommy asked you to. You know, those things. So you start out really small, and it's always got to be age appropriate. But as you're teaching them obedience, the main part of that obedience training is going to be from like 2 to 5, okay? She does listen to that enough. Thank God. Oh, good. And you do congratulate every time. Good job, Cecily. Keep up the good work. 2 to 4 can take small instructions. 4 to 6 can dress themselves. Exactly. Thanks for that breakdown, Brooke. Exactly. And then above and beyond that, during those wonder years, those elementary school years, continue to expect the things of them that they can do. Continue to praise them when they obey and they do really well. And then don't forget, they can repeat after you the definition of obedience, which is immediately, joyfully, and completely. And they can role play with you to know what that is. Y'all have a great rest of the day. I will be back at 9 o'clock tonight and with you every day at noon and 9. Thanks for joining me. I'm Trina Titus Lozano, and I'll see you tonight. Bye.